I'm going to kick it off by introducing our first speaker, Troy Wilford. Troy is a thinker, a doer, and a connector who brings decades of commercialization experience to the startup and early stage companies with whom he's had the privilege of working. He's an engineer that turned marketer, so he combines the art and science of both disciplines to provide a unique perspective and a methodical approach to crafting strategies for client success. He is a founder and principal of Keystone Life Sciences. He's an advisor and a coach to startups. He leverages his extensive experience in corporate and higher education to guide early stage companies toward becoming market investment ready. Troy earned his bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in business administration from Drexel in Philly. He went on to take positions of increasing responsibility at companies like Johnson & Johnson and Stryker before starting his consulting practice. During his career, he's excelled in roles with responsibilities in R&D, research and product development, sales, marketing, business development, and operations. So he has a span of experience. And by nature of his healthcare focus, he is well versed in reimbursement, regulatory, and clinical affairs. I don't think I missed anything except for maybe legal, Troy. So you're going to have to bone up on that. He's a native of the Philadelphia area who's holding out hope that the Sixers are able to find success where the Union, Phillies, and Eagles all came up short. So take it away, Troy. Thank you.
Ingrid, thank you so very much for the introduction and really the opportunity to sit down with this group in a pretty meaningful opportunities. My topic here is personal development, and it's one that is really kind of near and dear to my heart because I think it's important in my pathway from a high school kid who wanted to design the next $6 million man to where I am right now is really a result of the personal developments that I have been able to craft, and I learned a lot of lessons along the way. So I didn't follow a rule book, which is probably certainly my MO, my process is to make my own rules and chart my own path. So ideally what we do here tonight is going to help you guide your path. And there are resources galore online about the hows, the whys, the whats of personal development. So what I thought I'd do is really kind of, take this time to provide some context and some perspective on some fundamental foundational elements of the personal development process, and then allow you to kind of fill in the blanks and go for additional resources beyond that. And so as a marketer, I do have this affinity for threes. 2 is never enough, 4 is too many. And so 3 is a nice number you can kind of get your head around. So I've got a couple of examples, and you'll see the 3 pattern kind of encouraging throughout the talk. And so I start with this image, one, because it's pretty impactful. No one, I don't think, on this call would be challenged in identifying this particular iconic athlete on the screen here. But I think that Mike Tyson is a character and a person that really defines personal development. And trust me, I get to the tie in a little bit. But if you think about his arc, and for those of you who have had the opportunity to see his one-man Broadway show, or like me, I had to watch it through Hulu as they did an adaptation of his show and really televise that. It really allowed me to get into the nuance of this really complex and intricate and at times enigmatic and controversial character. But if you see where he started as a kid growing up in Brownsville area of Brooklyn, troubled past, speech impediment, learning disabilities, broken home, and as to where he ended up, as kind of the champion of the world, and then again another arc following some poor decisions. You can see, where personal development is key, and this kind of gets to some of the elements, that I'm going to be talking about. He described himself as an animal. Right, just a self-described animal. And he used some other colorful language as well that I'm not going to repeat here because even though it is after hours where I am, it's not necessarily appropriate language for a group like this. But he was very true and authentic about who he is and who he was at the time. And then he found some people that will allow him to create the discipline that he needed to develop as a person. But he also had a goal. He wanted to escape the reality that was, Brooklyn in the late 60s, early 70s and 80s, And that's when, he started taking up, watching pigeons. And it was the pigeon that was one of the catalysts to him becoming and identifying himself as a boxer. He was an overweight kid, out of shape kid. It really wasn't, he was picked on a lot. And so the neighborhood bully snapped the neck of one of his pigeons, and that was the straw that broke his back, comes back, and he just erupted and just pounded on this guy. And that's when that fighting urge, kicked in. He was in, juvenile detention and different brushes with the law, and then he met Customato, kind of a mentor of his, and kind of guided him to where he wanted to be. So that's kind of the arc of the development, right? Again, it's very dramatic type of story to describe in a setting like this, but again, I think that dramatic nature of it really starts to underpin some of the elements that we'll talk about in a little bit, as far as what it's going to take for all of us as we go about our process for creating our own personal development plans and our own personal development pathways. So I'll leave that a little bit. There's a quote here from Mike Tyson, but fundamentally the elements of that story capture these three pieces, right? And so it's knowing who you are, right? Being genuine and authentic, right? So if you're going to have a personal development plan, you need to start with a foundation of who you are and answering some very specific questions, like what are your core values? Right? What is it that makes you you? Right? What is your superpower? That seems to be the question du jour when you get into interviews and whatnot. What is that superpower of yours? But it really again gets back to those core values and what it means to be you. What are the holes in your swing? That's another sports analogy, right, from baseball. But what are your holes in your swing? So if you can really identify yourself and have that foundation, everything else is built upon that. And so understand who you are. Second element is going to be knowing where you want to go, right? And again, with Mike Tyson, he knew he wanted to escape that reality. For us as individuals, ideally, we're not in those types of situations, but where do you want to be in 3, 5, 10 years? Who do you want to be in 3, 5, 10 years, right? And so answering some of those questions fundamentally is going to help you establish what that plan is and establish where you want to be. What does that vision of your future self look like? Really ask yourself those questions on a daily basis so that you can understand that destination, right? And so many people say, okay, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I have mixed feelings about that type of analogy. Sometimes I think of it as a marathon that's a sequence of quote unquote sprints, right? Because there are phases and there are steps along the way to get to that end goal. And then end goal may change. And so maybe your destination is only 100 yards and that's fine. And then you've gotten yourself to where you want to go. So really understand though, where it is that you want to be in the future. And then the third one, like I said, rules of 3. Third one, know who around you can help. All right. And for Tyson, it was Customato. For me, I had a number of people in my world that allowed me to bounce ideas off of them. Share questions and get insights, right? And so those are the clear mentors that we have in our lives. And it's really important to have those mentors. But what I want to make sure we don't miss is the advocates, right? An advocate and mentor in my mind are different. So an advocate is going to be the person who speaks on your behalf in rooms where you are not yet present, right? The mentor is there to give you insights and perspectives and ask you questions and allow you to ask them questions. An advocate is the other person who is pulling you into spaces where you want to be. And so if you know who you are, right, you know where you want to go, and you can have those people around you to help get you to that point, both on the mentorship and the advocacy, then you'll have, a plan, and then you'll be able to develop, toward the person that you want to be and approach the place where you want to attend. The kicker is, right? And so again, bringing Mike Tyson back into it. And the kicker is this quote that I absolutely love. I think I throw it into as many different talks as I possibly can, because it is really, really, really true, right? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? And so everyone has that moment when they have all the pieces in place and then life gets in the way. Right? You can't forget to listen to the universe as it's telling you what it wants you to do, and puts obstacles or shortcuts in the way. You've got to have that mental flexibility, that mental agility to adjust your plan according to the environment in which you now find yourself. Much of what my progress along the way was a bit of serendipity, which is great. Right, a bit of planning, which is my nature as an engineer, And so that mix is really key. And if you're not comfortable with accepting that things are going to be out of your control as you start to go down this process and create these things for you, then you're going to, and you resist those natural tendencies and change, then you're going to have a more difficult time, right? So if you can follow have these three principles, have these three elements as you are mapping out your plan, the quote becomes less of an issue, right? Because there's going to be far fewer punches in the face because you've got that adaptability. Right. And so again, I didn't want to go through and say, okay, this is how you do it. It's really just the perspective that I've learned over the years that helped me get to my place in where I'm. And this is a learning process, right? So my race is not yet run. My story is not fully told. There are more chapters to be written, and I'm really excited about the prospect there. So my dismount slide is again another, another rule of three as you start to look at personal development. It's one of those areas where it has to be habitual. It has to be something that you're thinking about on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, some routine schedule where you are checking in with yourself, checking in with your mentors and your advocates, right? Again, there's a difference there in my mind, so that you can get the perspective that you need given the path that you're on, and again, to reduce the amount of potholes, that you engage along the way. Be open to feedback as the last one. Right. And that's feedback from people. It's also feedback from the environment. Again, there are going to be things, elements, activities, changes, dynamics that are going to be unforeseen, that you're going to want to be able to listen to and be open to, as you go through the process. Right. And so I want to end it there because I know I only had 10 minutes and I could talk for a very, very long time, and I don't want to consume too much more. But like I said, I wanted to give the group and the audience just some thoughts on how I perceive and how I understand and how I interpret, the process of personal development. My contact information is here. Feel free to reach out. I know we've got, the networking sessions coming up, but I'm like I said, honored to have taken some time with you today, and look forward to, everything that comes through, and wish everyone on the call the best of luck.